Russell Simmons presents the show, The Soundtrack. It's been a while. Welcome to It's Been a While. I'm Free Tillman. This is a series where I talk about albums that I loved as a kid, but for whatever reason I stopped listening to them. And today we're talking about Russell Simmons presents the show, The Soundtrack. Before I continue, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I release a new video, and leave a comment. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the show. The show, The Soundtrack, is obviously the soundtrack to the 1995 hip-hop documentary, The Show. It was directed by Brian Robbins, edited by Michael Schultz, with music by Stanley Clarke. Unfortunately, at the time of this filming, there's no place to watch it online other than YouTube. I honestly kind of forgot that this soundtrack existed. Aside from the really big hits like How High and Summertime in the LBC, I don't remember most of the songs on this album. It doesn't help that this album is now out of print, and the only way to hear it in full is YouTube. So I'm kind of going into this one blind. Let's see what I find out. The first song and single from this album is Live Niggas by Onyx, and as soon as I heard this one, all the memories started rushing back. I assumed that this was the first single because they were signed to JMJ Records. In case you don't know, JMJ, or Jam Master Jay, is the DJ for Run DMC. One of the members, Run, is the younger brother of Russell Simmons, so that's the connection. As always, Sticky Fingers has the livest verse where he takes old school lyrics and gives them a violent twist. This song also appeared on their second album, All We Got Is Us. My Block by Tupac definitely sounds like Me Against the World era Tupac. This song was exclusive to this soundtrack. There was a remix in 2002 for the album Better Days, produced by Nitty, that features vocals from Tyrese. What's Up Star by Sugar, aka Sweet Tea, was produced by the mad rapper himself, D-Jot Angeletti. I mentioned earlier that I only remember the really big songs. Well, for some reason, I remember this song too. Sugar was signed to JMJ at the time, so I'm pretty sure that's how she ended up on the soundtrack. This song is pretty forgettable except for two things. One, the line, "This is a pickup line, I got to big up mine," is used by DJ Premier in the Prime song Microphone Preem, which is a random bit of trivia. And two, the song is about her leaving her man at home and heading to the bar to pick up someone else. And she keeps referring to the people she's hitting on as honey and chick. Referring to a man as honey is a little weird, but it's not that crazy. But I've never heard a woman refer to a man as a chick. So throughout the third verse, it sounds like she's hitting on a woman, which would be really progressive if that were the case, but I don't think it is. Next, we have another exclusive. In case you didn't know, this soundtrack gave us How High by Redman and Method Man. They were both Def Jam artists and each released albums in November of 1994, so Def Jam dubbed this the month of the man. They went on tour together and the rest is history. They actually wrote the chorus before they started writing the verses. Meth did use the Look Up in the Sky part from What the Blood Clot from his album To Cal. Redman's final verse received the Lyric of the Year award for 1995 from The Source magazine, even though in that verse he says, "I'll make murder your case like your name was Cal Brooks," and if you don't know what's wrong with that lyric, look it up. Fun fact, Method Man doesn't really smoke weed anymore. I don't know if he cut it out completely, but he doesn't smoke as much as he used to. And if you've been paying attention to his career for the last few years, you may have noticed that he doesn't really curse anymore. And he's still a beast. Everyday Thing by Bone Thugs-n-Harmony is a remake of a song off their 1993 album Faces of Death. Sometimes this song is referred to as Everyday Thing 2. The two songs sound completely different, so I'm not sure why they didn't just name it something else. Maybe they forgot they already had a song called Everyday Thing. Here's some extra trivia. Did you know that the members of Bone all have aliases? Crazy is Leatherface, Busy is Lil Ripster, Lazy is Number One Assassin, and Wish is Straight Jacket. So in the song where Busy says, "Better not test the Ripster," he's referring to himself by his alias. They actually do this a lot in their songs throughout the years. I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but there it is. The first leg of this album is mostly East Coast hip hop, especially if you count MC New York, and at this point we switch to R&B. Every Day It Rains sounds like it was left off of My Life, and it's worth listening to if you're a fan of that era of Mary J. Blige. Old School by Isaac to Isaac is the most skippable song on this album. All I know about these guys is that they were twin brothers named Gerald and Steve Isaac, and this was the only song they ever released on Mercury Records. Domino's in the House by Domino was fine, but it does sound like he's trying to recreate Ghetto Jam from a few years prior. Summertime in the LBC is a song I talked about in my review of Warren G's Regulate, so go check that out there. The quick review is still a banger. And this concludes the R&B section of the album. Next up is West Coast gangster rap. First we have So What You Saying by South Central Cartel, a group whose members are named Havoc and Prodigy. They still perform under those names to this day, and I don't know how they get away with it. Havoc goes by Havoc the Mouthpiece, and Prodigy spells his name with a J instead of a G, but still. Anyway, So What You Saying features South Central Cartel, Jail Felony, MCA, Spice One, Tretch from Naughty by Nature, and Shakilla. And it is 7 minutes of some of the hardest hip hop you'll ever hear, especially the second half of the track where MC8, Tretch, Shakilla, and Spice One rhyme back to back. I completely forgot this song existed. Next up is Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams by J.O. Felony. This song is about what he sees on his way to the corner store just to get some Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams, which is prison slang for junk food. Felony was signed to JMJ and released an album in 1994 to little fanfare. His album with Def Jam in 1998 got him a little more notoriety, but apparently not enough because he was dropped a year later, and while he's released a few albums since, his career hasn't really bounced back. Dropping Bombs by Trey D and South Central is another solid track. Still Can't Fade It by Warren G, Bo Rock, and Dove Shack, and the Twins sounds like it could have come off of Regulate. How I feel about this song is how I felt about most of the songs on Regulate. The rapping is above average, but Warren G's production does all the heavy lifting. This ends the West Coast section of the album, and we enter the East Coast hip hop icon section of the album. First we have LL Cool J in Loverman mode with Papa Love It. This was a bonus track off of Mr. Smith, which was released a few months after this album. Glamour and Glitz by Tribe Called Quest is basically a Q-Tip solo track. I know I've been saying that a lot of these songs by popular artists sound like songs that were left off of their albums at the time. Well, this is a song that sounds like it was left off of Beat Rhymes and Life, and for the first time in this review, I don't mean that in a good way. Beat Rhymes and Life is famously fans' least favorite album, second only maybe to Love Movement, and it pains me to say this, but this one just sounds lifeless and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Kill 'Em All by Collie Ranks is apparently the song that got him signed to Def Jam, which didn't seem very fruitful seeing as he didn't release his full album until 2009. And he hasn't released a full album since. The album ends with a live version of Me and My Bitch, which finds the Notorious B.I.G. rapping over Computer Love by Zapp and Roger. The documentary has plenty of other songs to choose from. I'm not sure why they chose this one. There's nothing wrong with this version. I'm just not sure why they didn't choose a more popular song. Absolutely, there are a lot of exclusive tracks on this album that are worth seeking out if you've never heard them, and the replay value on most of them is pretty high. So when's the last time you heard the show? Are you still bumping to this day? I'm going to keep talking about albums until I run out. Until then, I am Free Tillman, the only guy on the internet that doesn't know everything. Peace.